Have you ever heard of 512 Audio? Well, neither had we until their products turned up, as you can see here in the studio. They're a fairly new venture and an offshoot of Warm Audio. 512 Audio started in August 2021, based in Texas, where the 512 name comes from as it's Warm Audio's area code, with the goal of providing decent sounding audio gear at affordable prices to content creators like game streamers and podcasters. And comparing the two microphones we've had sent definitely screams affordable. Warm Audio microphones look as if they start from £1,000 plus, though they are aimed at high-end music studios. Whereas the Skylight condenser microphone and the Limelight dynamic microphone both sit at £189 on Amazon UK. For the sake of my testing, I used both microphones with my Go XLR Mini to give them a test when streaming games over on the TechNuovo Twitch channel, and I can definitely say that both microphones held their own. Let's start with the Skylight first, as this was definitely my favourite out of the two in terms of voice quality. Now, the 512 Audio Skylight is a well-built heavy microphone that really favours that wider sound than the Limelight. It's a condenser microphone after all, and it features a large format condenser design and uses a cardioid pattern for the rejection of unwanted noise. In the box you do receive the microphone itself, a nice metal pop filter which feels well built as well, a shock mount for your microphone stand or boom arm, and finally a case if you're going to be storing it away anywhere or taking it to events. The Skylight's design looks absolutely fantastic, as you can see here, and it really feels like they're being inspired by Warm Audio's love of older vintage gear. Now, the head of the microphone has a grill, but it is also covered by a plastic, I think it's plastic anyway, but a plastic perforated shielding to again aid with those popping sounds. Now, branding is very tasteful with a mirrored 512 logo on the front, and it will look nice and professional if on camera while you're streaming or if you film your podcasts. How it looks isn't really the most important factor, is it, with a microphone? How does it sound? Now, long story short, it does sound fantastic, and from the box with no additional mixing, you get a nice blend of tones that sound nice and thick, and there's a definite boost to the bass and lower mids. I'd definitely say that the microphone is suited more towards vocal recording or even podcasts or videos like this as opposed to streaming. As for one, it can produce a very rich and warm vocal tone, and I will say for this video where you're currently listening to the Skylight, I haven't changed my EQ and everything is set to flat. The second reason why I say this is that although you have to speak into the front of the microphone, as you can see I've just got it off to the side of my mouth, the noise drop off isn't the best when you get around the rear of the microphone. So if you're using no post-processing effects, you're definitely going to hear your mechanical keyboard or gamepad or mouse clicks while gaming. But this isn't unique to the Skylight. All condenser microphones I've tried at least suffer from this. It's the nature of the beast. I did use a noise gate in my Go XLR software to combat my PC fans and my keyboard and mouse and even my gamepad, which definitely helped but didn't eliminate entirely. So if you're wanting this microphone to stream, take into consideration any background noise that might happen. Now, secondly, with a condenser microphone, you're going to want to consider some kind of sound dampening treatment to the room that you're using it in. Now, I'm actually in my living room right now, which is where my set is, and my gaming setup's just over there. And although my floor is carpeted, I've got no foam on the walls or sound panels dotted around. Now, I should have really, but I did notice that it was a little echoey when using the Skylight. Again, it's not really unique to this microphone, it's a condenser microphone issue. And just to give you an example, here's what it sounds like when playing games and recorded through OBS Studio. So I've jumped into a game of Forza Horizon 5 just to give you an example of what the 512 Skylight microphone actually sounds like. And I've got the microphone on a kind of like a horizontal plane, just slightly, and it's sitting maybe 2 or 3 inches away from my mouth, and it's sitting quite closely actually, just to give me a nice proximity effect. Now, I have dipped the gain down on my Go XLR Mini just ever so slightly, just so I don't get any of that distorted audio from the microphone being too sensitive at this kind of distance. But hopefully that's mixed in with the game sounds rather nicely. When I'm looking at my when I look at my equalizer on OBS, everything looks to be okay, so you should be able to get quite a nice mix of my voice in actual game. Now, I just wish I was actually better Forza Horizon than I actually am. The game has just asked me to put the difficulty up by 20% because I was winning too easily. And now that the difficulty is up by 20%, I feel like I'm not doing very well. I'm not doing very well at all. And I don't really know any of the... Oh, I don't know any of the tracks at all. They're all absolutely new to me. The other nice feature that I quite like about the Skylight as well is, as I mentioned earlier, that it gives me quite a nice warm tone to my voice. Now, I wouldn't go as far as to say it's broadcast quality, but it's certainly a very, very nice sounding microphone for the price, for the £189 price point that 512 is selling these at. And yeah, it's just like a very rich, very, very nice sound. As I say, the microphone would be much better suited to maybe a podcast. One thing also, I'm not sure if you're hearing at all, is I'm using my controller, my Xbox controller here, as you can probably see on the camera. I'm not sure if you're able to pick up, or the game sounds drowning it out. I can hear it in my headphones as I'm monitoring the microphone audio through the Go XLR, but can you hear this? I can certainly hear it. Button presses, and that's directly behind the microphone, right? So you're gonna hear that. You're gonna hear keyboard presses and that kind of thing with this particular microphone, because as I said, the rejection around the actual side of the microphone isn't the greatest. There is some rejection, of course, because you have to speak into the front of the actual microphone itself, but the actual rejection for sounds, especially sharp noises like mouse clicks, controller clicks, as you can hear now, and I'm not exactly slamming the analog stick into the side of the base it's sitting in either. So yeah, there is that. Just take that into consideration when deciding whether to go for a condenser microphone or not. Now, this is where I really enjoyed the sound of 512 audio, and that's with the Limelight, and I'm going to be switching to that microphone now. So this is the 512's dynamic solution, and I must say it was a lot easier to compress any background noises that happened while I was playing games, due to the fact that this microphone is a lot more directional and has a much higher rejection around the rear of the microphone. However, any bangs into the boom arm will still be picked up, as you can hear. So make sure that that's free from your hands if you move around while you're talking or you're playing on a mouse and keyboard. Now, the sound produced still favors bass and midtones, but there is a low cut filter that can be toggled on the microphone itself. Now, I left it on flat. I don't think I need any more bass removed from my voice. Of course, you may think differently, but of course your mileage may vary too. The switch though is in the worst place, as its mounting arm pretty much blocks it when on the boom arm. You'll need to decide whether this is important to you before recording, as switching halfway through is going to require removing the microphone from the stand. Now, talking about the mount, it's a pain in general. It's a bit fiddly and stiff to connect the two together, the microphone and this little mount here. There's definitely a quality shift between this and the Skylight though. The Skylight feels very heavy and very premium, and although the Limelight has a metal construction, it feels super light and almost like it's made from plastic. It's definitely taken on some kind of inspiration from the Rode Procaster, or more than likely with its physical design, the Electro Voice RE20. Accessories included also suffer a little bit compared to the Skylight as well. Now, in the box there is a carry case, but no pop filter or even windshield, which is a bit of a shame. Enter the 512 pop filter. Both microphones, however, need some kind of stand. You don't get a desk stand in the box for either of the microphones, and here is an example of what the Limelight sounds like while playing games. Again, EQ is left flat, but I have added a noise gate to deal with my PC fans, my gamepad, my mouse, and my keyboard. Okay, so we've now switched over to the 512 Audio Limelight dynamic microphone, and as you can probably tell... God damn it. Let's restart the event. So we've now switched over to the 512 Audio Limelight dynamic microphone sitting at roughly an inch away from my mouth. No pop filter on it this time, but the dynamic microphone is able to control the pops slightly better than the Skylight condenser microphone. But you can also tell as well that the actual tone of my voice isn't as wide. The frequency isn't as wide as the Skylight microphone. But the advantage you do get with that is this microphone again gives me a very nice warm broadcasty type audio. The EQ that I'm running through my Go XLR again is flat. So it's a very flat sound. You can change that if you want to add a bit more treble in. The bass cut on the actual bottom of the microphone is again set to flat. I haven't done any kind of bass cut to the actual microphone. And the advantage with this microphone as well that you do get is the fact that you do get a lot of drop-off, audio drop-off and rejection from around the rear of the microphone. Now, throughout the last audio test that I did with the Skylight, you probably heard my Xbox controller, the analog stick bashing into the side of the housing that the analog sticks sit in. But this one is nowhere near as prominent, if heard at all, through the actual microphone. So if you wanted something to sit right in front of your mouth, in front of your face, and produce a really, really nice sound, then this one is absolutely wicked for that. It's really, really nice. I really do actually enjoy the sound that this microphone does give me, and it's very much, I will say, coming from a Rode Procaster, which is my usual microphone of choice, it's very, very much on par with something like that, even. Now, usually, if I was to do, if I was to use this on my own stream, I would EQ the microphone a little bit. As I said, I'm running this very flat at the moment, so I'd probably add a little bit of treble just to bring out the high frequencies in my voice. And again, I'd probably leave the bass where it is, and the mids I'd probably raise a little bit as well, just to bring out a bit more detail in the highs. But as a flat sounding microphone, if you didn't want to worry about all of that kind of thing, then you're pretty much onto a winner with this one. It's a very nicely priced, very budget friendly microphone, and it does can't believe it's the first time I've ever come second in a race on Forza Horizon 5. But yeah, as I say, the noise rejection's good. You might be able to hear that slightly, but nowhere near as much as the Skylight. So there's an example of the Limelight dynamic microphone. So switching back to the Skylight microphone for the remainder of this review, and one thing that you may have noticed too is the boom arm that I'm using. Now this is a boom arm made by 512 Audio themselves. It very much resembles the Rode PSA-1. They're almost identical, but it's a nice and tough, and it's made from metal and has some decent tightening screws on there to really fix your microphone in place. They also make a metal pop filter, which is just here, which for the Skylight might be a little useless depending on the power of your plosives, but if you're going to be using the Limelight at close proximity to your mouth with a high gain, it will definitely be worth one. And finally, they do their own monitor headphones, which actually sound pretty decent. The Academy headphones here, or actually, it's the Academy headphones here. And I've been using them myself on my streaming setup for a little while, and I've actually replaced my current EPOS H3s. Sound quality isn't too boomy, but if you're wanting to monitor your audio while streaming and also monitor those in Discord so you can get a nice mix together, then they're definitely worth using. They favour the highs more and are actually quite advantageous if you're playing competitive FPS games like CSGO or Valorant. Now if you're looking to replace your streaming setup or upgrade it, then the whole entire streaming setup from 512 Audio is great. And yes, there are pros and cons to each microphone, which I'm hoping you got from this video. If I had to make a choice for streaming myself, I'd definitely go for the Limelight dynamic route for my voice while streaming, just for that audio rejection. I'd have to EQ the mic to suit my voice as well, as I would have liked to have added a bit of high mids and maybe a tad in the highs just to give me a purer sounding voice, though the Skylight microphone does sound wicked as well, as you can probably tell here. Also, the quality of the accessories coming from 512 is very nice as well, and could easily take over a streaming setup. Now, it's a shame desk stands aren't included with the microphones, even if they were very basic stands, as not everyone has the room or even the need for a boom arm, and the pop filter is decent, but only really needed for the Limelight. The headphones though, great stuff. Thoroughly enjoyed the Academy headphones. They're definitely a go-to now for my setup. Thank you very much for checking out my video and breakdown of the Limelight and Skylight microphones from 512 Audio. If you enjoyed this video, then do hit that like button, subscribe to keep up with our latest tech and gaming videos, and also let us know down in the comments below what you thought about the audio that you heard throughout this video. If you would go for the Skylight or the Limelight for your streaming setup, or you feel that there are other microphones out there that are worth a look, that are in an affordable price range. That's the most important thing, is whether the microphones are affordable. As I say, thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.